Hello and welcome to the Feck It Fun, Fabulous and Free Eating Disorder Recovery podcast. I'm Helly and I'm here to provide regular bursts of information and inspiration, some neuroscience applicable to eating disorder recovery, perhaps a few rants, but otherwise lots of positivity with a bit of a feck it attitude, some fun and a sprinkling of fabulousness to help everyone find freedom in recovery. Hi and welcome to the Feck It Fun, Fabulous and Free Eating Disorder Recovery podcast. I'm Helly, I'm an eating disorder recovery coach working with people in recovery from eating disorders and disordered eating. Today's episode is about how having an eating disorder can be a bit like having a spin doctor permanently living in your brain, manipulating your thoughts and interpreting your reality so that you only see, hear and notice things or believe things that are just not true. So yes, okay, an eating disorder is like a very sneaky and manipulative spin doctor, really spinning everything so that you only notice things or believe things from that disordered perspective. Because if you think about a spin doctor in politics or in business, or let's face it, there are plenty of spin doctors within the world of diet culture. If you think about any spin doctor, they will manipulate a story or an event or just twist facts so that it provides a very convincing argument. And it will be a very rational sounding argument to the public to get the public to believe their very biased point of view about things. And that's what the eating disorder also does. It will find things in your environment, things you see, things you read or hear, and it's probably going to pick up on things other people say and do, and it's going to take what it wants from that information and ensure that you only see, hear and understand things from the eating disorder's perspective and view on the world and what's happening around you. And you won't even realise that's what's happening in your brain. To you, it will be believable and it will be credible. The things you think, the stories that are being spun in your brain, you're going to believe them because why wouldn't you? It's coming from your mind every day and we believe our own thoughts. But of course, the eating disorder is going to be blatantly ignoring the facts out there that contradict with the stories that it's trying to tell you or that it wants you to believe. It's going to be completely ignoring the things out there that conflict those stories, and it's not going to let you notice them unless you go looking for them. Ultimately, your brain is going to tell you really convincing stories for why you shouldn't do all the things you know that you need to do in recovery. It will tell you amazing stories to make sure that you don't take action to eat more or rest more or gain more weight. And it might convince you that you're already huge enough, that you don't need to eat more, that you don't need to rest more, that you don't need to gain any weight. And it will find lots of stories to tell you for why that's true for you. And at the same time, it will blatantly ignore all the clear facts for how and why that isn't the case. It will not let you see all the signs and reality of the fact that you are very definitely not at your set point weight at the moment, that you are not as huge as you believe yourself to be. And it's not going to let you notice all people in this world who live in bigger size bodies and are healthy and happy in those bodies. And it's not going to let you understand that diet culture telling everyone that they need to be smaller is just a load of bullshit. Your eating disorder brain will only let you see and twist things into what it wants you to see and believe to keep you sick. And if I stay with the diet culture topic for a minute, the eating disorder will make you notice and draw your attention to all the messages from diet culture that are telling people how and what they need to eat, and that are telling people that every person in this world needs to lose weight. And it's going to really highlight all those messages that are so prevalent in our society about why people should lose weight, why it's not healthy to be in a bigger body. But at the same time, it's not going to let you notice, hear or see the facts that are out there about what is actually healthy. that people can be healthy at any size, and that our bodies determine what that size is. And the fact that the fat-shaming society we live in is not one that should be determining what we do, what we eat, or the size of our bodies. Your eating disorder is not going to let you see and notice those facts out there. But that information is out there. It's just that the eating disorder won't let you seek it out and find it. It's going to tell you that the opposite is true, and it's going to do everything in its power to make you believe that the opposite is true. And another way in which the eating disorder will spin things is if a loved one makes an innocent remark, perhaps about what you're eating or what you're doing, and the eating disorder will spin whatever they said into a story that, oh my God, they've just said that I'm eating too much, they've just said that I'm not moving enough, or that I'm gaining too much weight, when they didn't say that at all. It's just that the eating disorder has just taken whatever they did say and spun it into a story to try to keep you restricting or keep you moving or carrying out other behaviours, so that ultimately it will keep you believing all the disordered lies that your brain will spin you. Because unfortunately, that is how manipulative the eating disorder is. It will spin any event, anything people say, into a story to try to keep you in its power. And another thing an eating disorder will do is tell you that you can't possibly buy the delicious and lovely dense food that you've had your eye on in the supermarket, because it will tell you that you can't afford it. It will say you can't afford that food, so walk away. And it will tell you that very convincing story, but then a few minutes later it will let you buy the health foods on your safe restrictive food list, even though they cost the same or even more. It will tell you stories in the moment to try to deter you from the action that you know you need to take for your recovery. And it will be so convincing in the way it does that. Of course, another very common thing that the eating disorder will spin is the fact that it's a lovely day and you need to get fresh air as a reason for why you need to go for a walk or run that day. Yet in reality, you know deep down that you can get fresh air by just going and sitting outside in nature. And where the eating disorder might spin things to say that going for a walk is good for your anxiety, you know that going for that walk is a terrible idea for your long-term mental health and anxiety. And you know that actively engaging in the eating disorder's desires won't get you anywhere long-term. So you have to be careful about catching the eating disorder stories it's trying to spin in the moment and not engage in them. Generally, there are a million ways in which the eating disordered brain will try to spin things that are happening around you. Things in your environment, things people say or do, things you see and hear. There are a million ways that I could go on and on about in terms of the ways that the eating disorder will try to spin things to keep you in the illness. And the sad reality is that those things that the eating disorder is spinning in your own mind are so powerful because they are your own thoughts. It's not as though someone else is coming along and a third party is telling you these stories. These are coming from within you, and so they are your own thoughts, and they are powerful because we believe the things we think. And at the end of the day, the things that we think guide our actions, and so they're powerful, and it's very easy just to go along with what our mind is telling us and allow our minds to guide our actions and behaviours. But when your mind is taking you down the disordered pathway and telling you stories and spinning you facts to take you there, it's really important to be able to notice that and catch it out. And that means that in recovery, it takes being a real detective and questioning every single last thing your brain is telling you about why you should eat less, why you should move more, why you should compensate for eating when you have eaten, why you shouldn't gain weight, or anything else that will take you down a disordered rabbit hole. Any stories that your brain is telling you that will take you into a disordered behaviour or habit, you have to start to question those stories and question those thoughts and really find the facts behind them. In fact, you also need to go out and find the facts that contradict the eating disorder stories, because those facts will be there if you look for them. And those are the facts that you need to believe. Those are the facts you need to find and trust and act on. And even if you really, really can't find those facts, for the sake of your recovery and your long-term health, you have to take the recovery path anyway. And you know the recovery action is always going to be more food, more rest, accepting weight gain, and letting yourself mentally and physically heal, no matter what your brain has to say about it. So that's my episode for today. Go away and notice that spin doctor in your mind. Notice when it's starting to spin you stories and thoughts that are just utter eating disorder bullshit, and go do the opposite, because you can. I'm Helly. If you want to know more about my coaching, then you will find me on www.hellybarnes.com. And otherwise, I'll speak to you again soon. Bye, everyone. Thank you for listening to the Feck It Fun, Fabulous and Free Eating Disorder Recovery podcast. Don't forget, eating disorder recovery doesn't have to be boring and doesn't have to be serious. Now go and grab yourself some food and have a fabulous rest of the day.